Hello there. We are going to be talking about something I really don't know much about. I'm just learning. Um, I hope we're all on the same stream because it would not, my stream would not actually come through. I had to stop it and start it again. So hopefully, hello Samantha. I'm not really sure what's going on, but I hope you are following the Lindsay Clancy case. And you're going to see Sachi because she's on one tonight. She is on one. Let me go ahead. Let me start where I'm supposed to. Here we go. Sachi is on one. Yes, she is. Okay. Are you going to be happy now? Are you going to be happy? Say hi. All right. Um, yeah. So I didn't even know. I know. I only see you in here too, Samantha. I do not know what happened. I hope some other people are not like in, cyberspace in a vacuum. I have no idea. I hope eventually they realize. I hope there's not two broadcasts at once. I don't know what's going on, but it would not initialize. Um, I'm I'm not sure what happened. Everything was working great with Evie Mux. It just would not actually start the broadcast, so I canceled it and restarted it. I have no idea what is going on with this program. Let me see. Actually, let me open a whole other thing and go into my studio and make sure that I'm not live streaming twice in here. So, sorry if y'all are watching this live later on the replay. I will try to remember to cut some of this out. Let me just double check my live streams because this is insane. I only see one live stream in here, but that doesn't mean anything. Y'all, the other day when I had so much trouble with this, I ended up with 3 live streams. It was insane. But anyway, okay, so let me tell you something. I only found out I'm one of those people that I stay so busy. I am just way too big up in here. I'm one of those people that I'm way too busy. And so I missed a lot of this going on. And so I was talking to a coworker and she says, "Hey, have you been watching this case about Lindsay Clancy, about this nurse?" She didn't even say her name. She said, "This nurse. Have you seen this, been watching this trial about this nurse? Blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "No, I've been busy." Now, understand that things have changed a lot for me for a lot of reasons. And I no longer, this coworker has no idea I have 2 YouTube channels, not even 1 YouTube channel, much less 2. I never talk about it. And I kind of dance around all the stories that I tell her about things. I tell her that I know people online. So I'm like, yeah, I was talking to somebody online. I was in a live stream. I just, she knows I dabble around with the internet, but she doesn't know. Now, some of the OG people I work with from years ago, they know, but that we really don't talk about it. And so just word of advice to y'all, people, if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel or you have started one, don't tell anybody. Just deal with the people online. The people that you know, that you work with, they're not going to be supportive. I'm just telling you. I learned, people said that to me and I didn't listen. You're like, "Oh no, they're going to be great." They're not. They're not. Believe me. They're not. Some people will, a few, but no, you're better off making friends online. Your best people are going to be the people that you meet here. So anyway, so she's talking about this case and I was like, No, I haven't heard of it. But she starts telling me the details. And I'm like, no, no, no. And so I'm going to talk about some of the things. We're going to watch some TikToks, okay? And I will tell you, I am not. I've read a lot about it so far. I've taken a crash course in this. I've listened to some of the trial while I'm at work, but honestly, I listen to about 10 minutes of it and I get called somewhere else. I'm doing something while I'm listening to it, and then I get a phone call. It's very disjointed, all right? So I really don't know what's going on. I try to catch up, but I know a lot of the details. And here's the thing that I'm going to tell you. If some of it doesn't make sense, then you've got a big, big problem. And we'll get there. Let's see. Samantha says, watching is an awesome little co-pilot. Let's see. I didn't get a notification for this. Yeah, I really didn't do it much, Samantha. I didn't put out much notification, about 10 minutes, because I've wanted to do this all week long, and something has happened every single night that I didn't get to do it. What? Did you know that 3 different states did executions the night of the equinox? I did not. Interesting. Interesting. I could say a lot about that. I could say quite a lot about that. I did hear that there were some executions coming up, and I think that there was one in Alabama coming, at least one in Alabama coming up. Probably already happened. Okay, so here's the thing. The first thing that my friend told me, as she's giving me the rundown on this case, is she says the body was found at 82 degrees core temperature in something like 55 minutes. And I said, nope, didn't happen. Not in 55 minutes. I don't care. Out in the snow, out in the Antarctic, under the water, I don't care. Didn't happen. Not in 55 minutes. She said, that's what they're saying. I'm saying that. You know how I know that? Because I did a deep dive. Thank you, Delphi, for a lot of knowledge that I didn't know before. And little bunny trail here. Have y'all been listening to the prof the last, and Noe the last few days or week? I was like, oh, whoa, wow. Some of the things that Noe has been saying, that makes perfect sense to me. I think that's probably what happened. Anyway, going back to Delphi, when we were talking about the temperature of the girls' bodies and the water and the whole 9 yards, and what they said about, look, I took a deep dive. I did a big study on temperature, on body temperature, and how long it would take in all the kind of conditions, whether they were in the water, whether they were outside, how long it would take for their temperature to get to where it was. What I learned, surprisingly, is that it takes way longer, way longer than you would think for body core temperature to go down that far. I was pretty amazed at that. And so when she said 82 degrees in 55 minutes, I'm like, nah, it didn't happen. So here's my thing, and this is the whole crux of any case, all right? If you have a big major part, now this is not saying she did or didn't do it, she's not guilty. What I'm saying is this. If you have a big major crux of the case, body temperature being a big core problem, body temperature is wrong in 55 minutes. It is dead wrong. Excuse the, it is what it is. Your timeline is wrong. The whole narrative is wrong. It did not happen this way. Prosecution is wrong. Didn't happen. Not this way. Now, did she do it? I don't know. We're going to go into some stuff, and we're going to listen to some stuff that I found on TikTok and people talking and bringing up some stuff, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to discuss it. You're going to tell me what you think. Refute it. But what I'm saying is this. body temperature's wrong, somebody is lying. Somebody's lying. That body was out there a lot longer, way longer, for it to get to a core temperature of 82. Not going to happen in 55 minutes. So now my second question is, who's lying? Who's lying? Well, it ain't Lindsay. She's laying out there. So somebody is lying about the time she went out the window or the time that she was outside. Something is wrong with this scenario. So here we are. We've got a problem. Whether you think she did it, whether she didn't. The stuff that I listened to this morning, there or whatever morning it was, reading her diaries, they're like, oh, this is showing. I'm thinking, dude, this isn't showing. Look, I work with psycho people. Okay, I know what crazy looks like. I know what it sounds like. I see it writing. I get notes. I get long passages all the time of crazy, delusional writing. That's not what it looks and sounds like. Okay, she's talking about concerns as a mother. Okay, it just sounds like a diary. I don't know what the heck they're talking about. Now, the next thing that I also saw when my friend was talking about this case, besides the core body temperature is off, I'm looking at her, I'm like, she was a nurse? No, you do not unalive people that way. Let me tell y'all something very disturbing about all the nurses that you know and love. We know how to people. We know 1,000 ways. We don't do it. But think about all the cases of the nurses who do get caught doing that, right? They work in hospitals, nursing homes, whatever. They get caught committing these horrific crimes. Think about how they do it. It ain't that way. Sweetheart, we know a lot of ways. We know a lot of ways. Ways you ain't thought of. And she loved her kids, okay? Even if she was in psychosis, even if she wanted, like a lot of women, postpartum depression, even if that, I'm not saying that doesn't happen and women don't do that. They do. But you're not going to do it that way, not physical. Women do not do it that way. They don't, Kill, physically like that. Okay? And especially nurses, because we don't have to. We know better ways. We know a lot better ways. And it's not, you would have to really, that is such a harsh thing to do to your kids when you could simply make them go to sleep and make their heart stop. You could, and if you're going to do away with yourself, you're not looking to see what's going to turn up on the autopsy. You're not worried about that. You're not trying to do it covertly. You're trying to do it quickly and easily. You see, that's what makes sense. As a mom in grief who is given up, who wants to unalive her kids and herself, do it quick, do it easy, do it painlessly, and you do yourself. All right? Even if you get mixed up and you get horrified and you can't go through with it for yourself, you're going to do it with your kids. And that is how a nurse thinks. Even in the cases that nurses do this to their patients because of some kind of whatever screw that is loose, that is how they do it with medicine, certain kinds, certain things. Go look it up. That's how we do it. Hello? We don't do it the way they're saying she did it. It doesn't make sense. Okay? And I think any nurse is going to tell you that. So my friend, the nurse, says, yeah, they said her body temperature's this, and they said she did this to her kids. I'm like, no, no, ma'am. No, 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 ma'am. She could be psychotic all she wants. She can be delusional all she wants, but she didn't do it that way, and that this whole scenario is wrong. Something does not add up. Now, that is my opinion. I don't have proof, but I am a mom, and I understand. I've worked with a lot of people. I've worked with a lot of moms who are in depression. I've been a mom who's been overwhelmed and had no support. I've been a single mom with no support. I've been a mom who, I think every mom out there, at some point, you want to throw your hands up in the air and say, I can't do this anymore. And I don't care if you've got one kid or 50. You just, at some point, you are at that tip. You're just like, I can't do this. But then, you take a hot shower, a bath, you eat something good, you get a good night's sleep, maybe, and then you get up and, you go on. You do it. But every mother has been there. Now, the amount of medicine that she was taking, I take a lot of, what is it? I understand some of the medicine that she was given, but I take a lot of concern. That's not really the word. I'm mad about the medicine that she was given. She was given way too much. Like, why are you giving somebody these many narcotics? I'm not talking about the Seroquel or the quetiapine that they're saying about, but the narcotics. Why are you giving this woman all these narcotics when she's got little kids? Like, what's wrong with you? But the other things, I understand. And I understand the dosage going up, but not in conjunction with the narcotics. This is over medication. This is too much polypharmacy, in my opinion. But I'm not the prescriber. But as someone that would be working in a clinic or a friend of hers, I would certainly say, hey, I think you need to find, I would tell her as a friend, I think you need to find somebody else. Like, I think you need, like, something. This is too much. If it was my friend taking all this, but maybe they didn't know. Maybe her friends didn't know. I don't know. I say I missed all that part. Let me see what y'all are saying. Hey, Smoky Mountain. Wait, I thought they didn't do body temps on the girls. I'm not I'm just talking about on her. Oh no, on the girls? No, okay. Oh, you're talking about Delphi. They're talking about, I can't remember when this was, but this is, I can't remember why this was. They said they didn't, but then we were talking about at what point, at how long you could live, how long before you would go into hypothermia. I think that's what I was studying, how long you could stay out of the water, being that cold, whether you're in the water, out of the water. Because at some point, I can't remember, honestly, because this has been like 3 years ago, like maybe in 2023 is when I was looking at the body temperatures. And it all had to do with, I'll tell you what it had to do with. It had to do with the, remember that you can't find the, I don't think you can find the video now, but it's probably on one of my old videos. I think, unless I was afraid I'd get a copyright strike. But there is a video that somebody did of the, the deer. They had the heat drone, and it showed all the people walking in the woods, and it showed the deer and stuff like that evening. And they were walking in the woods, and people were saying, oh, well, they were in the water, they were exposed, their body temperatures were too low to be caught on the drone, because their body temperatures would have been below whatever. And that's why I was doing all that. How long? If they had been in the creek since, say, 3:30 p.m. and it was 6:30, I know it was very, very cold, that's why I was doing the body temperatures and how long, because he was out there till, into the evening, till it was getting dark with the drone. And so that's why I was doing the body temperatures on that one. And even into the next morning. So I pulled it out then I was curious, how long would it take for them to not show up? If you had a drone, if you were up in the sky with a helicopter, if you were doing whatever, looking for heat signatures, how long would it take before it wouldn't show up? That's why I was doing that. That's something to think. And I looked for that video because I thought I used some of that footage, but I don't think I could find it. That's been forever ago. Hey, Winter Woman. Good to see you. Okay, they went in depth about the body and phone temp in the Karen Reed case. Yeah, I don't remember that, although I did follow that case as close as I could. I was really busy then too. But I did not think Karen Reed was guilty either. But yeah, that's when the Abby and Libby body temperature as when the drones, but basically 55 minutes, which they've even said, they've said a million times since that came out in court, it's not going to happen in 55 minutes. It's not going to really drop much at all in 55 minutes. Let's see. I've seen the clinics overprescribed right out of the gate. Yes. Me too. I get, there are certain doctors in my area that I would not work with because I knew that they were overprescribing. And I'd be like, no, I can't work there. Sorry. I can't do that. Can't be part of the madness. Okay. So, but there's some very interesting things. And like I said, I'm going to tell you right out of the gate, I am not an expert in this, but I'm learning. And so I want to hear what you have to say, because right from the start, I've already told you just off the top of my head when she was telling me the things that they're saying about her, I'm like, nope. 2 or 3 major things off the top of my head said, no, this didn't happen. Not like this. Again, do mothers have postpartum depression? Do they do things like this? Yes, they do. But is polypharmacy and overmedication and depression a thing? Can it drive somebody into psychosis? Yes, it can. But the method, again, if you have one fact, a major fact, such as body temperature, that is wrong, it is wrong, then that makes other major factors untrue. Because if her body was not out there, if her core temperature was that low, then her body was gone. She was gone a lot longer. So now we have a huge amount of time that we have to account for, or much larger. So what happened? The narrative is not right. If the narrative is not right, that leads for a lot of other possibilities. And we know that they got a heartbeat on the baby. So the baby wasn't that far gone. Not as far gone as she was. So what's the story there? Something is not adding up. And that's my question. If the narrative isn't adding up, then we've got a problem here. And I want to know what it is. Okay? So I'm going to show you a couple of things and we're going to talk about it. This one is just for fun because I saw this and I thought of Sachi because this is me.
Apparently the Wi-Fi didn't work, okay? But he was able to send an email from his laptop, which was at his house when he was supposed to be at CVS. Apparently.
That's her leaving. She doesn't care. It just I had to share that with you because that's me literally. And look. Okay, but no, let's start with some real things.
You gotta watch this.
Does it indicate the date and the time? The very top, you sent that email to your staff members.
It does, yep.
Tell the jurors what the date was.
It's January 24th at 5:24.
And that was sent from your Surface Pro.
I don't know, actually. It could have been sent from my iPhone.
That would be exhibit 76.
That's the moment Patrick Clancy realized he was cooked. That's the moment he realized, I gotta get myself a criminal defense lawyer. Because when Kevin Brennington asked him, he asked him for a reason. He knows the answer. He just wanted to see his reaction. If Patrick Clancy sent this email from his home at 5:24, it means he lied. Because he was supposed to be at CVS or out of the home at 5:15 p.m. It means he was there. It literally changes everything. You gotta watch this.
Does it indicate
So,
the date?
what do you think? And I think this is the main problem that people are having, because if he left at 5:15, the walk is about 3 minutes, but yet the email. So he says he was already out of the house at 5:15. He leaves, but at 5:24, approximately almost 10 minutes later, he's sending an email. But the internet was out at the house. Again, we have some stuff that doesn't add up. So, yeah, you're right. See, that is what the key word is: narrative. I don't trust the new terminology. Too many times it's trying to sugarcoat manure. Oh, Sachi. Yeah, I agree. It is. I mean, look, I don't know who's paying who. Well, I know who's paying who in the courtroom, but like, I think we just want the truth. And I'll tell you something. And let's talk about this for just a second. I have never seen. I think this is very interesting psychologically, okay? Because women, we love our kids. All the mama bears, when you have a case like this, think of the case of Susan Smith and Andrea Yates, and I could go on and on of the mothers who have unalived their kids. When you have a case like this, you have all the mama bears in this country, like, we're ready to rip them to shreds, right? We can't fathom. Because we've all been there, we all understand the pressures. Men will never understand, and I know there are dads out there that have had to raise kids, and I know in some aspects I think it's harder for a man because you weren't built for that. But for women, we have had this thing growing inside of us. Really, we poured not just emotionally but physically everything into it. And then for some women, you've had this thing living in you and now it's out. And the postpartum depression, I don't know. To me, it wasn't the body. For some people, they don't, once that transition happens, their bodies, the hormones just go nuts and the depression goes nuts. I was always happy about it because I was like, oh God, on one hand, you're a lot more comfortable. On the other hand, I do understand, like, 'cause your baby is never safe. Like, it's not safe like it was when it was inside you. You feel like you can protect it more. But I was really pretty daggum happy. Like, good, you're out. I can breathe again. But there is that separation. And I understand where that kind of sadness comes from, and then it escalates. And then as a mom, when you're a working mom, you feel like you're never good enough. Like, you can never give your kids, and I 100,000% get this. You can never give your kids what you want in your head, and your dream is to be the perfect mom or the perfect wife, and you want to give your kids all the things. You want to be the the school, the class mom. You want to bake all the cookies. You want to do all the things. This fantasy in your head, kind of like marriage when you're a little kid and you imagine being married and living happily ever after, and then you get married and you're like, I'm going to live with this person who is stinky and gets on my nerves and, makes weird noises and has opinions I don't like. And, it's not the fantasy, anymore. And so you have to like adjust your brain. Well, it's the same thing, with your kids. You imagine being super mom and being this, and then, I thought I would be Mary Poppins. I was more like Sasquatch, like, well, you're breathing, good for you. Yay, you made it through the day. That's all we can hope for today, kids. You're fed, you're clean, you're washed. Yeah, go to bed. And but when you go to bed at night, you have to come to terms with, I'm not the mom I wanted to be. I'm not Mary Poppins. That's not who I am. And I look around and I see other people who seem to be the mom that I always wanted to be, and I'm not. My kids are Wolverines. They're feral. I'm feral. Like, we're all feral. Well, we're doing the best we can over here. And so but that's just the way it was. And for some people, they can't be okay with that. It's hard to be okay with that. So here's the problem. You have all that going on, but for the rest of us, we've all been there. Okay, whether we had the postpartum depression or not, we've all been where you feel like you can't take it another day. And normally for a case like this, all the moms, all the she bears come out, and we are like pouncing on the woman, and we're all saying, how could she do that? Fry her, whatever you say in these situations. But strangely enough, in this case, there is a huge amount of women who are doing the same thing that I am. And we're not even talking nurses. We're just talking women. And we're looking around. We're looking at this situation. And we're like, something ain't right here. And this is not normal for a woman who has allegedly unalived her kids. Because normally the women are out here ready to, tear her apart. So the fact that there are so many women who are on her side tells me one thing, that something about this doesn't sit right with us. We're not buying everything the prosecution and the state is selling. And that is because we understand how women do things. It's not impossible that she could have chosen this method. But I would definitely say every nurse out there knows a better way. And I think every mother probably could think of a better way as well. And something about this doesn't sound... we got questions. So there you go. Smoky Mountain. I haven't followed this case closely, just enough to keep track. Yeah. Yeah. Daybell and Delphi burned out a few of my circuits. Mine too. Still elbow deep in Delphi. I can't be that far in Delphi, but Smoky, I guess I said a little while earlier, I was watching some of Prof's stuff this week as I was trying to get my own stuff together for this. And very interesting stuff that Noe is saying. And, if you listen to, I can't remember what part it was that I was listening to the other day, but I'm going to tell you something that made 100% sense. If that is what happened, it kind of does add up to everything. And people, and I would just say the people that were involved wanted to keep it hush hush, and that just makes sense. So Carol, you moved to Gainesville. Cool. Well, I'm glad you're away from where you were. If that was stressing you out, I know it kind of. I felt like it kind of was. Um. So good for you. All right, so let's look at some more because some of this stuff I didn't know. And that's why instead of presenting it the way I usually do, I'm like, let's let some TikTok people tell you because I really do like to listen to people's theories. I don't agree with everybody, but some of it is really pretty interesting and stuff I didn't know. So this is what I was saying. Yeah, I got to music on this. But again, this to me shows everybody, all the TikTok moms are like, yeah, he did it. So why? What is it about this case that makes us think, yeah, it's not her, it's him? We all have this inner something. Okay.
So, if you're relatively new to my page, you may not know this, but my husband is a felony prosecutor. And so people are always asking me, well, what does Bob think about this? So, Bob hasn't been watching the trial because he's not me and he doesn't do this in his spare time. But I was like, well, let me show you what's been going on in the courtroom today. So I played him the testimony that is the beginning of my last video with regards to Lindsay Clancy's journals. Do you guys want to know what my husband, the felony prosecutor, said? He said, wait, I thought you were playing me something from the Commonwealth's case. And I said, Bob, this is the Commonwealth's case. And he said, are they stupid? And I said, well, that has been a subject of debate. And he said, I don't understand how they would possibly think that helps them. And I said, yeah, Bob, that's how a lot of us feel. And then so I went on to explain to him what happened with the impeachment of the medical examiner about the time that this would have took. And he said, wait, they impeached the medical examiner about something? And I said, yes, Bob. And then Bob said a bunch of profanities. So anyway, I have more coming later, but I've been very busy today and I'm very tired. But I just wanted to give you guys a prosecutor's perspective on this case.
Now,
So
that's what I was saying too, and I'm no expert, but when they were reading her diaries, I thought the same thing. I thought, this sounds like a woman who is just talking. She sounds actually pretty sane. And like I said, I get insane complaints. I get insane requests. I get insane conversations. You would, if you saw some of the things that I get on a sick call typed out, I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? And I'm like, this, I don't even know how to answer this. This makes no sense. And so I'm used to psychosis. I'm used to all kinds of things, of ramblings and whatever. And so, this was normal talk to me. And, they wanted to say, well, she's narcissistic because she said she would like to get up and have an hour and a half to pour into herself. That's not narcissistic, sweetheart. That is common. That's healthy. When you have kids and you're spending your whole day, your whole life is revolving around your kids, if you do not have self-care, and most mothers never do, that's her dream. Like, it's every mother's dream. Sleep 8 hours. Oh, my God. Get up. Have time to, take care of myself. Just, breathe. Do something, that rejuvenates me. Then, that's when you've got all the energy and presence of mind to take care of your kids. It never happens. It's a dream. But that's what's needed. How are you, and I tell this to my patients all the time, how are you supposed to take care of anybody else? Because they're worried about their families. They're like, I do this. Here, I'm in this situation because I've got this and that, and I'm trying to take care of this and my family and my kid. I'm like, how are you supposed to take care of anybody else if you can't take care of yourself first? You put yourself first. You put your sobriety. You put your whatever first. Take care of you, because you are not good to anybody else if you're a wreck. If you're shipwrecked, you're useless. You take care of you and you guard that with your life. Then you can help other people. And so I'm like, this makes sense, dude. It never happens for moms. We know it never happens, but that is actually quite healthy. Hiawatha, hey Hiawatha, after reading some of his testimony, it really seems to me like he's trying to make her guilty regardless the situation. He was pushing the Seroquel narrative a lot. Yeah, that is one horrible medication. Yeah, where I am, they really love it, but they love it because it makes you a zombie. And it really does. It makes you sleep. Of course, I've never tried it. I've never tried, psych meds, but people say I should. I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm not gonna. So, let's see. Carol says, I worked 14 hours per day in corporate when my kids were small. I feel guilty, but the health insurance and benefits were great. Yeah. See, that's what sometimes you got to do, what you got to do. Okay. So let's go on. Now, here's some other things.
No wonder Lindsay's treating doctor refused to defend Lindsay in court. It turns out that she is friends with Patrick's current wife. No one realized that behind this, there are 3 terrifying conspiracies planned by Patrick. During the trial of
I heard of it. Okay. I'm going to start this from the beginning, but did y'all actually hear that? And that's why they said that the judge got mad. Because there's another video about this. I'm like, what the heck? Why is this? Now, are we not doing a whole nother trial for, what's his name? That goofball in South Carolina, Alex Murdaugh. Are we not doing a whole nother trial because there was some kind of craziness on the jury? So, why? How is this? But believe me, some of the stuff that people say on here, it's even worse. But let's listen to this again, because I was like, holy crap.
To defend Lindsay in court. It turns out that she is friends with Patrick's current wife. No one realized that behind this, there are 3 terrifying conspiracies planned by Patrick. During the trial of the Lindsay case, when the lawyer asked McDonald about Lindsay's body temperature after she was taken to the hospital that night, Dr. McDonald said she did not remember. The lawyer repeatedly asked about the spinal injuries Lindsay suffered from the fall, but McDonald still did not provide a clear answer. This made some observers question, why would a treating doctor have such a lack of memory about some key details of a patient's condition? Behind these controversies, there are actually 3 facts worth paying attention to. First, Dr. McDonald has a social connection with Patrick Clancy. She follows his current wife on social media, and the two are very likely to be friends. Her silence and resistance during the trial may have been instructed by Patrick. Second, what is even more frightening is that Patrick rebuilt his family less than 3 months after the incident and had another child. This was a man who had already made up his mind to start a new life. Third, at the same time, another intensive care unit nurse also testified in court. Compared with McDonald, this nurse recalled more details about the scene and answered questions more directly. Meanwhile, as Lindsay's treating doctor, McDonald seemed to know nothing about the patient's condition. No wonder Lindsay's treating doctor...
So, what do y'all think about that? Whoops, hold on.
No wonder Lindsay's...
Sorry, I heard something outside. I hope everything's okay. Have y'all heard anything that the friendship... See, there's just too much there. Now, in my opinion, you shouldn't be treating why would you be treating somebody's, if you're friends with the new wife, look, that there's something, if that is true, I'm gonna read some of the yeah, it was that's what a lot of people are saying. He was already into the second family, but it gets worse, y'all. Let's see. I feel like, yeah, people in the comments here are saying take away her medical license. Did the police fail to fail the investigation? How could the police have not determined this? See, this is my question too. These are the comments on the video. She needs to have her license taken away. It's unprofessional. You know, and you have one person that says you guys can't see what the underlying issue is. Once he met the new wife, she started the gaslighting process. She is the mastermind. Now, that sounds far-fetched, okay? But we're going to watch another video that somebody does, and I'm not saying it's true by any means. It is a wild theory, but I'm like, ooh. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm like, what if? Alex Valdez says, this case reminds me so much of the Watts case. There's so many similarities between these two. He's guilty, and the new wife is either in on it or she knows something. A lot of people are comparing this to the Chris Watts case. It kind of does reek of that, because if you remember in the beginning, Chris Watts was trying to blame Shanann. Patrick's mother is a psychologist, I believe. This is what somebody says in these comments. Who also knew Dr. Rachel Dennis, Patrick's new wife, who also knew about medications and acted as a confidant to Lindsay while she was going through her postpartum struggles. What? Is that... And they're saying the affair started in New York. See, I wonder if this is true, because all this is hearsay, right? This is in the comments. We don't know. But, like, yeah, I don't understand. Why don't the police, whatever, really look on social media? Like, people be out here talking about stuff, right? They're out here spilling the tea on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Reddit, whatever. People are out here spilling the tea. And what was it in the Delphi case that after the case was over, the attorney said, yeah, we wish we had listened more, watched more of social media. They would have learned a lot. We were out here. We already knew. We already knew a lot of stuff that they really should have needed to know before they walked into that courtroom. Yeah, isn't that considered conflict of interest? Does Lindsay's lawyer know that she was friends with Patrick's current wife? Exactly. See, this is insane to me. It's absolutely insane. How did we get here? Let's see. Hiawatha says, hopefully the defense bring these oddities to light in the courtroom. Yes, I'm waiting for it. I am waiting for it. Let me get it out where I can see something. Hey, want to be sleuthing something? I'm super late, but I saw you live, and I'm bored out of my mind. Wish I had time to be bored. Oh, that would be a great day. Yeah, let's see. Samantha. Yeah. What did I miss that you said, Samantha? Yeah. But, and for y'all that didn't know, he got married. Like, he got remarried again, like, within 3 or 4 months. we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his new wife and some of these. I have to call them conspiracy. Look, when I was asking the internet, I'm asking AI, because you can't even Google anything anymore. AI just sticks its nose into everything. But I'm asking the AI about, hey, what's the latest on the Lindsay Clancy case, blah, blah, blah. And look, it will not give me anything but the narrative. It argues with me. Well, you can't go into conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. There's no proof. And I'm thinking, dude, look, I'm paying for you. Why don't you tell me the truth? I'm getting very, very upset. Like, I'm sick of the AI giving me biased opinions. Okay, so let's go to another one.
Have you noticed that Judge William whirled around in utter shock the second he found out Lindsay's attending physician, Jennifer Tufts, was a friend of Patrick's mother? No wonder Lindsay's defense attorney was furious and reprimanded her openly in court. Few people are aware that there are 3 little-known truths hidden behind this case. At a critical point during the trial, the defense attorney disclosed that Jennifer, Lindsay's treating doctor, was Patrick's mother's closest friend. Judge William Sullivan, who had sat composedly on the bench the entire time, suddenly spun his head around, his eyes filled with shock and scrutiny. This seemingly trivial gesture explains exactly why the defense lawyer lost his temper. For one thing, Jennifer hid this personal connection throughout Lindsay's treatment. She repeatedly shared confidential medical details about Lindsay with Patrick, and even prescribed more than 10 psychiatric drugs at a single visit. That accounts for why sedatives detected in Lindsay's body reached twice the standard dosage. Secondly, prosecutors maintain that full DNA belonging to Patrick was recovered from the elastic band, the purported murder weapon. Records from Lindsay's Apple Watch show a route leading to a CVS pharmacy. This has fueled widespread online suspicion that Patrick remotely controlled Lindsay's phone. These unproven speculations have completely shifted public sentiment over the case. Most importantly, Patrick has tried desperately to prove he was not at home when the incident happened, yet his work emails were sent from the basement around the relevant time. What is your take on this whole matter? Have you noticed that Judge William whirled around in
So, I mean, how it really does. When you go back and you find out all this information that he knew stuff about, that he knew stuff about the treatment. I mean, she should lose her license for breaking HIPAA, first of all. And secondly, it makes you really think, were they seeing each other a long time before this? And was this you have to ask, was this planned? Was this really planned for a long time? Was this an ongoing thing? Because now I'm like, wait a second. How does the second wife's mom, how is she involved in his first wife's treatment? This is just too close to home. And now we have all this craziness going on. The kids, and this is not, y'all. It's like 2 and 2 don't equal 5. But yet that's where we're getting here. Okay? You're giving me stuff that doesn't make sense. And this right here is why half of the mamas out here are not buying this. Okay? Because we know something is not right. Something is not right here. Let me see. Samantha says, I keep telling people that AI is trying to rewrite history. It lies. Yes, 100%. 100% it is. I've caught that so many times. I'm like, no, that's not right. Let's see. I found proof that Ed McMahon did indeed knock on people's doors. Oh, you did. Now, I'm going to have to hear about that, Hiawatha. Because I've argued that point forever with people, the whole Mandela effect. We'll have to talk about that later. Let's go on with Lindsay, but that's a whole Mandela show. Oh my gosh. I've been freaked out ever since CERN shut down in the end of June. The world has gotten, it's not really freaky, it's just kind of going back to normal. We can talk about
No
that another
wonder
show.
Lindsay's
But
treating doctor refused to
anyway,
defend Lindsay
keep
in
going
court.
with him. All right. This one. I'm gonna have to turn the volume off on this because I don't know. I don't want to get a ding on this. But okay, let's stop. Okay, let's go back. Her watch, and because they were saying that he controls her phone, but I never thought that because it would. This is the simplest explanation to me. Her watch. What's he holding in his hand? And they're saying the watch is underneath the wallet. He tried to hide it. It does kind of look like the watch is under there. I don't know. Can y'all see it? I mean, I can't say 100%. It does look like a watch band to me. But I couldn't, stake my whole reputation on it. But to me, that would be the easiest, simplest thing. Is, take her watch. Okay. Hi, Walter. Yeah, send me some info on that. Okay. Now, let's see. Let me go back to...
Because things are not adding up. Things are not making sense. I caught up last night on yesterday's, and I have so many questions. I didn't even sleep good. It's consuming me. Every day after work, I have to go and catch up on the trial. But the fact that there were Google searches about how to do certain things, okay, from the house, from a Surface Pro at the house, at the same time that Lindsay is at the doctor's office with one of the kids. And when I had questions about some of the things after all the medical professionals had been on the stand, and I said, okay, some things are not adding up. Boy, people came at me. They came at me. I ain't pointing my fingers at nobody. I'm sitting here saying, things are not adding up. Are we watching the same trial here?
Yeah. Are we watching the same trial? Okay. I don't know why I highlighted that one, but I think that's what a lot of people are saying. All right. This guy has a lot of good points, so I'm going to let him play. And then we've got one coming up. It's like, oh, holy crap.
Okay, nurses, I'm telling you, this trial is like consuming my life. I spent last night, after I, posted my updates, watching and rewatching Patrick's testimony because certain things about it were just not sitting well with me. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm not trying to do the rabbit hole shit. There's just some things that aren't making sense to me, so we're going to take them one by one. So as we all know, Patrick testified himself that when he came into the home, the first thing he did was remove his boots. He removed his boots. So my question becomes, after he removes his boots and he sets his bags down and he goes looking for the kids and he yells down in the basement, he runs upstairs and he finds that the tragedy that's occurred, and then he runs outside. When EMS arrived on scene, did he have shoes on? Or was he barefoot? Because per his testimony, the man should not be wearing shoes when he runs outside in the snow and finds Lindsay. So if he was wearing shoes when EMS arrived, I need to know, we need to know this. This is a major murder trial. For the timeline to work, when did he put the shoes back on? Now, if he didn't have shoes on, okay. But I need to know, did the man have shoes on when EMS arrived there?
And see, it's questions like these. I think he's right. Now, you might look at this and say, is it that important? Yes, it is important. And I know it doesn't take that much time, depending on what kind of shoes he's wearing. But I also say, yes, it does, because it's going to trace your movements through the house. And it's also going to do even just a slight adjustment in timeline. Are you barefoot when you're out in the snow, when EMS is there? Did you put your shoes back on? Why did you put your shoes back on? If your wife is missing, why are your shoes on? If you're calling EMS, why did you put your shoes on? Did you just think you were going? I mean, maybe you thought you were going to the hospital, so you like, I'm gonna put my shoes on. You took your shoes off, or did you run outside in your socks? These are things that need to be established, and I hope that, for one thing, a good defense attorney really should be asking these questions, because one of the things that happens in a trial and stuff like this is you're kind of wearing somebody down. It's very exhausting for somebody to, and it's very annoying for somebody to ask you these questions, and you're like, why? Why is this important? And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just aggravating you to kind of bring you up to the point of to see what's in there, to kind of break down your formal mask. Okay, so now you're either going to get agitated, or you're going to stick to it, or you're just fine with it. But if there's anything in there, you're going to start getting agitated, which is going to come up in another video. So hold that thought, because there's something I want you to see. So again, I hope they do ask these questions, and he's got some other points that are much more important than this.
And if so, when were they placed on his feet? The next thing I have a problem with is this. If you look at the receipt from CVS, it says Fleet Pedialyte, and he says that he called Lindsay because he could only find the generic version. He couldn't find the one she was looking for. So then why do we see this? So this is the CVS bag, not the greatest photo, but you can see the purple right there with the label, the blue in the front of the box. We all see that, right? It's not the generic form, the blue and the purple. It's the actual Pedialyte. It's what Lindsay asked for. So why is he saying that he had to call her because they only had the generic version, but he comes home with the name brand? I mean, come on, man. This is a murder trial. Like, the details matter, and this matters. And this is the next issue, okay? He comes home with the 3V bag and the CVS bag. Why are the children's plates resting on the bag? Like, they're on top of it. The handles are under the bag. So if he just came and said, you know what, we're gonna do this. We're gonna pretend my lunch bag is the takeout bag, and this Dollar Tree bag with a couple of things in it, like 1 or 2 items, is the CVS bag. And for the sake of argument, these 2 plastic plates are gonna represent the kids' plates. So we'll have them sitting, they're actually close in color. We'll have them sitting like this, the way they kind of were. When I come in the house, no matter how hard I try, and even if I just take the bag and throw it, I can't get them to go under the plates. How did he get them to go under the plates ever so slightly like that? I need to know. And like I said, this is a murder trial, so the mundane details do matter. He said when he went up the stairs, the bedroom door was locked. So he got the little skeleton key thing, opened the door, and when he opened it, he says he saw blood sprayed everywhere. He saw the window open, the bed had been moved, and then there's a silence and a pause, and he goes, oh, and I remember seeing blood on the doorknob. And he said he only took 1 or 2 steps in, but he says in that silent period, oh, and I saw blood on the doorknob, or I remember seeing blood on the doorknob. So now I have more questions. If he comes in and the bedroom door is locked, and he reaches up and gets the little key thing, and he unlocks the door, and he opens it like this, okay? It's open. The blood on the doorknob is over here. How is he seeing that doorknob once the door has been opened? That doorknob is now hidden. Now, granted, I don't know the layout of the Clancy's house, but the door goes inwards. If it doesn't go inwards and the door comes outwards, we need to know that, because there's no way he would have seen the blood on the doorknob. If it went in like this, he said I was only in 1 or 2 steps. He was in there for 2 seconds. He never would have seen the door. When would he have looked behind the door? He wouldn't have seen the blood on the doorknob. So that also doesn't make sense. Okay, last 2 things I promise. We know from the evidence photos that Lindsay's wound.
And then I've got another video that I want you to listen, because he's talking about the door on the blood on the doorknob, but there's another part of his testimony that I found very disturbing. Again, sometimes our memory is bad. Sometimes you think something, you're like, oh, yeah, I guess it wasn't that way. And that's okay, because if you are if you realize that somebody says something, you realize, oh, that must not have been true, it's okay. You're confident because you know you're telling the truth, and then somebody says, oh, well, that couldn't have been. You're like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, well, I thought it happened that way, but that makes sense because you're not trying to hide anything. But then when people are trying to cover, they say things and then they get this deer in the headlights look, or they get angry or whatever, and then you can see the little micro expressions on their face, and they're like, yeah, they realize they screwed up. So we're gonna talk about some things. Yeah, Hiawatha, this guy needs to be somebody's defense attorney. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, so he's really asking some good questions. So yeah, how did you see the behind the door?
On the right side of her neck, and she was right-handed. So answer me this question: when she was going to unalive herself, that's not really natural. So what I'm trying to say is, like, so here's my right hand. If I was going to do that, I would go like this and start here. You mean she went over here? This isn't natural.
Right, it's hard.
This is natural. This isn't natural. You know what this is natural for? Someone who's left-handed. A left-handed, that makes that natural. The wound isn't making sense either. And then finally, last thing. We know that.
Okay, he's going from. Wait, I have to turn around. He's going from left to right. He says she's right-handed and it's on the right side. Is that what he said? And that would be somebody who's left-handed. Yes, somebody who's left-handed, or somebody who's standing in front of you, who's right-handed, who's standing in front of you, standing at a different direction, right? Because if you are going to do this, you're right-handed, you're going to have to go, like, this is not usually, you would go this way. You get a better swipe. Unless you were slashing, right? I mean, I guess they can tell from the marks, maybe, depending on, I mean, I know in an autopsy they can, because they're really looking at those veins. But the problem is when somebody doesn't die, they're patched up, like they're stitches and stuff like that. So they're put back together. So you're not looking at you're not looking that closely. It's not an autopsy. So I'm not sure if they're going to be able to tell so much. I guess we'll find out.
After she allegedly or did unalive the children, she goes upstairs, and that's when she attempts to unalive herself. The bed is moved, fine, whatever. For the blood to be on the doorknob, she had to have been bleeding prior to the door being shut. So what woman is going upstairs to unalive herself? She knows her husband isn't there.
I don't know if it's on
She knows, per the
not.
timeline, the story, the narrative, what we're being told. The children aren't going to come up and disturb her because they can't. No one's going to disturb her. She decides to attempt to unalive herself in those methods, and then says to herself, oh wait, let me close and lock the door. She couldn't have closed and locked it beforehand because she wasn't bleeding yet. The bleeding started when she got in the room. So what woman's gonna turn around and go and lock the door? And why lock the door if you're going out the window? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like do the crazy stuff, but like I said, this is a murder trial and every detail matters, and the math ain't mathin'. I need this stuff all explained. I need all of it to be explained, and I hope they explain it, because this is why everyone's going crazy, because like you're giving us bits and pieces and the math ain't mathin'. The math ain't mathin'. And I had to replay the testimony several times to be like, wait a second, how would that have, who could have seen? It just doesn't make sense. So in closing, I'm hoping this week we start to see a few things, because I need to see the receipts, see the layout of the house, see the way the door opens, see the blood splatter on the doorknob. I need to see all of this. I need to see the plates, the bag. I need to see, was he wearing shoes? Was he not wearing shoes? Like, there's just so many things I need to see, because I'm sorry, the more you watch it, The testimony is not making sense. Now, I'm sure in a situation like that, people aren't thinking clearly, they're running around, they're doing a million things, but you can't be so sure about certain details and so unsure about other details in a major murder trial. This is someone's life, that we're discussing. And then we're discussing the murder of 3 children. So we need to be specific. The mundane details absolutely matter. So let me know in the comments what y'all think. If I'm spinning, maybe I'm spinning, but after I replayed it a couple times, I'm like, yeah, no. This shit just ain't adding up.
Okay. There's some things in the comments that... What did I do with my glasses? There's some things in the comments. One of the comments says, I keep coming back to the officers saying Patrick didn't go into the basement until they were on the scene. Now, is that true? Because I am not an expert on this timeline. But if the officer said Patrick didn't go into the basement until they were on the scene, so how come on the 911 call he says that she unalived the kids? How did he know if he had not yet been in the basement? Okay, there's like 500 replies to this. Is this true? It says this. And why wouldn't he just leave her and go look for the kids while on the phone with 911? Why wouldn't he immediately go look for the babies? Yeah, absolutely. Someone else says if he'd have left her alone, half dead, you guys would have stoned him for leaving her. No, I mean, not when there are kids involved, no. Let's see. Let's see, the problem is the police showed up on the scene with 3 unalived kids and an almost unalived wife and an unharmed man. He said she did it, and the police just freaking believed him. They didn't treat it like a crime scene. Yeah. Somebody else says, I can't get past the fact the cops didn't investigate the husband, and they just took his word for it. Like, did I miss that part? And when she came to, after all the medical crap she went through, she just accepted guilt. Well, if I'm not mistaken, she said she didn't remember, right? I mean, and here's the thing, I don't know if she, you're on all that medication, you've had trauma. We don't know what happened. You're on medication. Okay. And the thing with her pills being crushed up and in a glass. Look, that's not. No. 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 Just no. Okay? No. No. Think y'all get the hint. But, was she just so out of it, like so many drugs and so much? I'm thinking that she was so doped up, she didn't know what happened. And then after you have the trauma, I think if he did do something, I'm not saying he did, but if he did do something, the horror, the trauma of your kids being unalived and him being the perpetrator and you going out the window and all the other stuff, all the medicine, like the horror of all of it. And then you're paralyzed. Like, I don't know whether I can see where you would your brain is just not gonna come back. Like, it's just gonna force that whole situation out. And you can say, I don't know. Your brain is just like checking out. But yeah, he brings up some really good points. Now, so does this woman. Now, I know that they have some pictures and stuff of him on CVS, but listen to what she says because I think this is important.
Be the only one that thinks something is off.
Where did you go first?
CVS.
About how long did it take you to get there?
3 minutes?
When you got to CVS, did you go inside?
Yes.
Is that you entering the store?
Yeah.
Okay. And that section you head to on the right, is that the pediatric medication section?
Yeah.
Okay. And while you're in that section, looking for the medication, do you do something?
I called Lindsay.
Do you see this camera right there? That is the camera that I want to see the footage from. I want to see the aisle. I want to see the products on the shelves. I want to see the phone call. Why? Because I'm a nosy bitch.
And why did you call Lindsay?
Because what we were looking for wasn't there. The shelves were pretty empty. It was still during COVID.
You mean these shelves right here? Because that store looks pretty stocked to me. Now, I don't know what's happening down the Pedialyte aisle. Lindsay did call to make sure it was in stock, but there could have been a bum rush and the shelves really are bare. We won't know because we don't have the view from that camera.
Okay, so, and was that call at about approximately 5:33 p.m.?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, did she answer the call?
I think she didn't at first. She called back.
Okay. And did you receive a call back from her about a minute later at 5:34 p.m.?
Yeah, that's correct. It was very brief. I just said, I think there's a generic brand, and I said, is this one okay? And she said, yeah, that's fine. She was pretty quiet. It sounded like she was busy. I remember hanging up thinking she's probably in the middle of giving baths or something like that.
Okay. She was quiet. It was a 14-second phone call. How would you know she was being quiet? How would you know that she was in the middle of something? You did all the talking during the 14 seconds. Want to know how I know? This is how I know. Hi, Lindsay. Yeah, I'm here at the CVS. I'm not seeing the Pedialyte. I do see Bob's XYZ generic Pedialyte formula. Do you think that would be okay to buy? Okay, I'll get that instead. Where in there does she even have time to project being quiet or give you the impression that she is in the middle of something? I can't make sense of that.
When you arrived home, where did you park?
In the driveway.
Once you parked there, were both vehicles now in the driveway?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Both
did you
cars.
have some bags with you from CVS and 3V?
Yeah.
Where did you place those?
On the kitchen island.
Doesn't it kind of look like the plates are on top of the bag?
After you called out and no one answered, what did you do next?
I called Lindsay to see if she was home because I looked out and I couldn't see her car, but it's because it was dark and her car's black.
Okay, two things. One, you literally just got home and just got done telling us that you saw her car in the driveway. And before you come after me, this was not an emergency yet. He was just noticing that the house is quiet. He doesn't know anything at this point. And secondly, the phone is working. You had no problem making that call right there to Lindsay. The call went through.
What point did you call 911?
I don't know the exact time, but it took a few minutes because my phone was switching between Wi-Fi and 911. So I almost just started calling out for the neighbors, but eventually it went through.
I don't get it. The phone was literally just working when you called Lindsay, but now it doesn't work. And it's like trying to connect to the Wi-Fi. And so this is taking minutes. Okay. I don't get it.
Was she breathing on her own?
I believe so.
What? She was just talking to you. Doesn't that usually indicate that someone is breathing? Also, was she responsive? That seems unclear.
She was unresponsive, but breathing on the ground.
I recall her eyes being open, but she was nonverbal.
Was she responsive?
Not totally responsive, pretty much to painful stimuli.
Was she responsive at all during the time that you saw her?
No.
In the time that you observed her, was she responsive at all?
No.
Interactions, responses were minimal.
And what was her response?
She said I tried to kill myself.
And what was her response?
She said they're in the basement.
Are we ever gonna get to hear from Lindsay? Because this entire thing is pushed by what Patrick's narrative is, and it's driving me insane. Something is off.
Okay. Several things. Again, he's saying he saw both cars, but then he looks out. What, you don't remember you saw her car? Okay. Nah. Maybe you're confused. I thought I saw both cars. Maybe you're second guessing. They were there, but now it's quiet. Let me look again. I can give on that one. Like, you have in your head, I saw her car, but then there's nobody here. It's all quiet. I'm looking out there to see her car because I thought I saw it, but I could see me doing that. Yeah, I thought it was here. I can give on that point. But some of these other things, you're saying that she's talking to you. Could she have lost consciousness? Yes, she could have. She didn't talk to anybody else. But this thing in the store, the shelves do look stocked. I would like to see that other camera. She has a good point. We don't know. The 14 seconds, yeah, that's a short call. That's a short call. That's barely enough time to say, hey, is this going to work? And then, you didn't notice anything off about her during that time. I don't know. Maybe not. But the bag under the plates, yeah, that is a big deal. That is definitely a big deal. And we saw that in the other video. I think the camera, if we had the other camera angle, and maybe the defense does, I think that would tell us a lot. Again, any one of these things that he says that is a lie, that can be proven to be a lie, is going to mess up the whole case. I'm looking at his expression. He seems a little bit aggravated. When you see people on the stand who are trying to help tell the truth, like they're just trying to tell the truth, as painful as it is, they don't have that aggravated. You look and see his mouth is just like, he looks like a Muppet. Remember, Bert in Sesame Street? It's just a straight line. His mouth is so tight. I mean, but he's not showing grief. He's showing aggravation. I see it in his face. It's almost like, he's answering the questions, but this is hard, okay? And maybe, maybe people say, well, everybody expresses grief differently. True. But at the same time, you would think you would see a little bit more expression in his eyes instead of he almost seems irritated to me. And he's answering the questions, but I don't know. There's something a little off. You're right, Samantha. 14 seconds could be voicemail. Yes, he's visibly tensed. Absolutely, he is. That's what I'm saying. I thought that's a good way to put it. He's tensed. Is it because he's testifying, or he's a little bit aggravated to me? It's like that mouth. It never changes. Now, let's look at this video, because this one really makes you think. Okay, wild conspiracy, I know, but let's talk about it. Let's look at it, because what could be stranger than his wife's mom being involved in his ex-wife's care? Really?
In Lindsay Clancy's confession, she said it was like she was watching herself do it. So maybe in her drug state, what she was actually watching is someone else do it that looked just like her. So one side is Lindsay Clancy. She is currently on trial for murder of her children. The other side is her ex-husband Patrick's current wife, who is a doctor. Put them side by side, they look like one person. If that doesn't give you the creeps, I don't know what does. When I saw this, it gave me chills. It is absolutely wild. And now knowing what we know about Patrick, I'm just going to say this isn't far off from the truth. And now knowing what we know about Patrick after all the testimony and so many people believing he's the one that actually did this and made her believe and confess that she did this. I've been going down a rabbit hole every single day, and I've done quite a few videos, so maybe go watch those to get caught up. But I mean, this is just crazy. He literally married Lindsay's twin. A big thank you to my TikTok friend, Marie Quintana, for pointing me in this direction. I would love to know your thoughts because this one is a whopper. I'm Peanut, and this is my perspective. In Lindsay Clancy's
Okay. Is that not weird, though? Like, really? Is that not the craziest thing? Let's talk about it for just a second, and then I want to show you, like, some weirdness with him. But that is, let me put that picture back up here. Like, that really looks like the picture of the same person. Like, how do you marry somebody that looks identical to your first spouse? That's just weird. That is so weird to me. Like, that would freak me out. That would freak me out just to see somebody that looked just like my spouse. But, you know, so they're saying, what if, you know, she said in her confession, it's like she saw herself doing that. So in that drug-induced state, did they give her something else? I mean, there was more time there. There's more time. She was body core temperature out there. She was out there. You know, the narrative, the timeline is not right. We just know. Based on that alone, the body core temperature, not right. So the timeline's wrong. Narrative is wrong to some degree, at least. So now I'm thinking, all right, if that is wrong, then what else is wrong? Because that's not going to be the only thing. Again, like I said, you change that one dynamic because it's a big one. You're going to change a lot of the dynamics. So, who did this? Why? What is the motive? What is the true narrative? And she was on these benzos. So, what else could have been in her system? They weren't, again, there wasn't an autopsy. And because the doctor's involved, now the family's involved, she's confessed, she goes to the hospital. Now, like, look, I'm sure, being that all these people are involved, whatever, was she given something else to, with suggestive, like sodium pentothal? Was she given a drug like that would suggest, even to her in a drugged out state? Was she drugged first? It made her seem like telling her things that she did, that she unalived. Did they make her believe that she unalived the kids? I'm just saying, if we're going to go out here talking about theories, could she have been given something? Convinced? Did she really see herself doing this? Was it this woman? I don't know. Or did they just make her think that? And then so she confessed because she was already so doped up, and now you've had this trauma, and you have all these people, and they've convinced you. You know, you see the consequences. You know you've been depressed. Maybe you just simply believe it because somebody's been in your subconscious telling you this and then feeding you drugs. They're not going to be unusual if they do a drug test, which they probably did, because they already know you're on benzos, because you've been being prescribed massive doses of them, along with everything else. Is anybody really going to question that? No. And even Lindsay herself, is she going to question that? Probably not, because you're just you're just all confused. You don't even know. Like, all you know is you were depressed, you were seeing a therapist, and you had all these thoughts, and you loved your kids, but the next thing you know, you've cracked up and you're laying out in the snow, and you're half dead. And now you seem to remember something about this. Is it your real memory, or is it implanted memory? You know? Maybe, okay. Let's see. My first husband married a woman who could be my twin. In fact, my father's funeral, my uncle talked to her thinking it was me. Oh my God, that's weird. That is weird. Wow. It's funny though. I know somebody who married somebody that looked a lot like his first wife, and I was like, I didn't really see it at first, and then later on I was like, yeah, she really does. And then I'm like, I guess people just have a type, but to me that is weird. I've never been in a relationship with any two people that look alike at all. As a matter of fact, everybody looks completely different from everybody else. It's like, no, I'm done with that type. That look is kind of like, no. Maybe she got slipped Haldol before she confessed. Delphi taught the Haldol cocktail confession lesson. Yeah. Could be. And that's an easy one. Haldol, and it's not even narcotic. Like Haldol, Geodon, those kind of things. Like they really, even Seroquel that she was taking, like they really can throw you for a loop. I've seen this a lot in patients. As a matter of fact, Haldol is probably a drug of choice to calm somebody down. Somebody who is in psychosis, who's just out there. So that would not have been strange at all. Okay. Now watch this. This is scary. Wait, I think this is it.
One of the photographs that...
I'm going to turn the music off. But, yeah. Just watch these micro. You don't see it as much in the first, but when they slow it down, you can see he's getting very aggravated. And I saw it in his mouth first, but then you see it in his eyes. You see that anger? And they're saying he exhibits, what were they saying? He exhibits classic behaviors of a, what? Let me run this forward. Of a person with a certain cluster C type personality disorder. If you know, you know. Interesting. I really don't know. I have to study that one out. But I did see what they were saying. Let me see what they're saying in the comments, if there's anything that we need to know. It says, now raise your hands if you've seen this kind of expression and behaviors in your own life and can never unsee it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I have. Absolutely. All right. And then I think there's just like one or two more I wanted to show you. Let me turn the volume up on here. No, wait, let me turn that. I don't know what music this is. Okay, he knows. Her thyroid was crushed. Her body... and let me tell you something. A thyroid is not an easy thing, all right? That's unusual. That's very unusual, as a matter of fact. Her thyroid was crushed. Her body temp was 82 when found. She was unable to speak. Apple Watch in the nightstand. Her meds crushed up and in a drink. Again, No. No nurse is going to, like, look, you're not going to crush your meds. No. Ugh. And they're disgusting that way. No prints on the bands. Again, if you didn't know this, on the bands that were used to unalive the kids, her prints are not on them. His are. Come on. The red stuff at the window, down the side of the house, talking. They're saying that she's talking with a core temperature of 82. No, because he didn't talk to her that long before the EMS got there, right? But she's got a core temperature of 82. Come on. Again, lies, lies, lies. This is not going to make sense. It doesn't make sense. All right? No. No. Let me say it loud for the people in the back. No. Not happening. Hello? Find you a better narrative, because that is impossible. Chris Watts also said his wife did it. Yeah. See, this is the problem that I have. And I think this is the problem that all the women in America that are jumping up to her defense, we don't defend baby unalivers, right? We don't defend mothers who unalive their kids. We don't really feel sorry for them. We get mad. We are mama bears. So if you get all the mama bears up in arms saying this woman is innocent, there is a reason. There is a reason. Because we know. We know. We're looking at this and we're saying, we know women do this. Yeah, we know the stresses. We know that things, we know it happens. I'm going to say, you can look at the many, many court cases. You can say the many, many things that nurses do. But they don't do it this way. No. So, hello. Who is listening? I'm glad you brought that up. He looked like that Idaho 4 killer when he had that look on his face. I'm glad you brought up Idaho. Actually, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's see. Maybe crushed and put in pudding, but never in a drink. I mean, some people do, but you only do that when you're hiding it. You wouldn't do that when you're taking it. Like, why would you? Yeah, you wouldn't do that unless he was trying to hide it in a drink. Yeah. Okay, one last thing. Let me put the sound back up on this one.
And the blood that you saw, where was that located in the room?
It was everywhere. It was, it looked like it was sprayed almost with like a hose. And there was a huge puddle in the middle of the room, and it was sprayed all over pretty much every surface. I remember it was on the doorknob.
A few moments later.
Going back to Exhibit 42. There's no blood on the walls or on the bedding, correct?
On those walls and the bedding, correct.
Sir, when you went into the master bedroom, did you see blood sprayed all over the walls and everywhere?
No.
And fair to say that the video shows all of the walls in the bedroom and doesn't show any spatter or anything on the walls?
Yes.
And the blood that you saw, where was that located in the room?
So, he sees it on the walls. He says pretty much splattered on everything. But that's not the truth. So, that makes me wonder, exactly what did you see? Is this made up in your head? Was this guilt? You saw it on the doorknob, sprayed on the walls, pretty much everything. And the other guy, then they say, well, here's the picture. Yeah, no, I didn't see it. Okay, it wasn't there. The other guy is saying, no, I didn't see it everywhere. Well, that's curious. You saw it, you didn't see it. You saw it, and it was there. No, it's not there. Other guy's like, no, it's not. It wasn't everywhere. He's like, it was everywhere. It was all over the room, and then there was a big puddle on the floor. Are we seeing the same scene? Or is that your recollection because of the struggle? Because where you assumed it would be because of the struggle. Is that what it felt like to you? You obviously didn't walk in the room and see it sprayed everywhere. I don't know. Thought that was very weird. Let's see. Somebody in the comments says those are his memories prior to wiping down the crime scene, not what was there when authorities got there. Good theory. I mean, they didn't. That was her trying to unalive herself. So did they use luminol? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But my thinking at this point is they weren't processing that part of the house as a crime scene. But would they have used luminol? I would like to know. Somebody says, what? Wait, what? Was he in psychosis or her? Yeah, really. He forgot that he cleaned it all up. Yeah, that's what people are saying. But that's what it sounds like, doesn't it? Doesn't it? So we're gonna, this is the thing. I'm very curious to know how this is going to turn out. And for y'all that didn't know, he is now got a criminal lawyer because as these things have come out, and obviously the public is out here saying, hey, wait a minute. No. This doesn't sound right. All the mamas are like, y'all thought that we were just going to be sitting out here saying, yeah, fry her. And we're all out here saying, wait, this doesn't sound right. This isn't what women do. This isn't a woman thing. He looks guilty as, homemade sin. And so the inconsistencies in his testimony has now prompted him to get a criminal attorney. And, buddy, I think you need one because things aren't adding up. And they weren't adding up before we all found out that your mom-in-law was all over the treatment of your first wife. And, the connections are highly unethical. And it's all kind of weird. And now we're all wondering. And I'll bet Lindsay's sitting in the room thinking, holy crap. I bet she's wondering, did I really do this? You have to wonder, is she second guessing herself? What really happened? Did I confess to something I didn't do because I had no idea what he was really capable of? I know myself, if I had been coerced or if I believed that I had done something and then I heard testimony like this, I would definitely be saying, you know what, I'm not sure that I'm guilty. But, yeah, we'll find out. Back to Idaho. Look, y'all, I have been looking at some of the stuff, since Brian Kohberger has decided that he wants to change his plea. It's not that I haven't been interested in the Kohberger case. There's just so many things about that one that disturbed me. And, I was armpits deep in Delphi during all that time. And I really wasn't, I really didn't have time to dive into Kohberger, although, I've been involved with other people. I've, talked about it on other platforms a lot. I did some on my own in the beginning, but it's not really a case that my heart was that much into until, strangely enough, until the last month. And And now, I'd say within the past year, I did start to wonder if Koberger was guilty or if he would. Well, I've always wondered if he did it alone because there were just too many things that didn't make sense. There are some things that have bothered me, and now that he has changed his plea, and I found out some other things. Does he have that weird, crazy look? Like, yeah, he does. He does. And does he look guilty? Sure, he does. That doesn't make him guilty. He might be guilty, but I have a lot of problems with some stuff. Again, some of the narrative that doesn't add up. Because if it doesn't add up, then when it stops making sense, then I gotta say it's not the truth, right? We got a problem here. And there are a lot of problems that I have had with that case, which is one reason that I didn't want to get into it because I was already, like I said, deep in Delphi. And, but now, it's like Koberger, I don't know 100% how I feel, but I do know this. The one thing that has always bothered me above all things in that case is the time of the crime versus the time of the reporting of the crime and the people that were there. Like, I don't care what you say, what excuse you give. It is never made sense to me. And I think it's a bunch of BS about whatever kind of reasons that you want to say from 4 a.m. to whatever time in the p.m. that they decided to actually call 911 or call somebody. I think there's a lot of cover up. And then True Crime Design did a video that was absolutely fantastic. I've heard some people tear it apart, but like there were some things, and there's a lot that she said, I don't know. I can't disagree with her because I just don't know. But there were some things that she said on there, and I was like, holy crap. That is 100% true. I know this is 100% true. And it bothered me, and I'm like, oh, you know what? That really does make me want to look into this case even more. So tell me, put in the comments whether you're here right now or you are on the replay. I know a lot of you have asked me over the past several years, hey, are you going to cover Idaho? I want you to cover Idaho. I actually am thinking about covering Idaho now, along with Lindsay Clancy. This Clancy case I don't get that wrapped up in new cases. This one's very interesting. Yeah, you're right, Samantha. TCD does excellent work. She really, really does. And she deserves all the kudos that she's gotten because she really does. And she has a lot of theories on the Idaho case that I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm saying nobody else is talking about it. Nobody else will touch it. Her theories, and that has to do with cartels and trafficking and families and all that kind of stuff. Nobody will touch it with a 10-foot pole. I could not say whether she's right or wrong. I don't know. But I will say the manner in which things happened certainly make me think that it was a hit. But, I don't know. And I can't say anything about that. But I can say this. She does her homework. She knows what she's talking about. And, I'm not saying anybody is 100% right all the time. I don't know. But I can tell you this. She really puts together some stuff that nobody else seems to be able to put together, right? So I appreciate that. And I would love to talk about it. So yes, you're right, Samantha. She did great work on Delphi. I think I'll have to say this. She is the whole reason, her and Julia, if y'all remember her from years ago, those two are the ones that had the videos that really drew me into the Delphi case and made me stop and think that Richard Allen, made me start questioning, is Richard Allen guilty? And then I started out with some of their videos, and then I went on, and I was like, yeah, no, he's not. And but I didn't know anything about the case, and I started watching those two channels, and then of course I saw Eye of Apophis, and I mean, we were just off to the races after that. I was everywhere, and got really involved with that because I had no intention of doing. I was going to do vintage cases, not modern cases. So I'm starting to get interested in Idaho 4. So put it in the comments if you want to hear some of that, because I feel like there are some issues with Kohberger that mentally, and things that we don't think about, maybe psychologically. I'm not saying that he's he's got the look, but that doesn't mean he's guilty. All right, doesn't mean he's not, but there are some things that have always bothered me and not set quite right. I don't think for sure that this case was done alone. I just don't. I think there's more to it than we've ever been told. So, also tell me what you think about this case. On the replay, tell me, do you think Lindsay is guilty? Is she innocent, or is she just not responsible because of her mental state, because of the very badly mismanaged mental, the doctors, the mental health? Like, I'm just telling you, this stuff with the new wife and the new family being involved, at the very least, I feel like she was intentionally mishandled, okay? And I can say that from just what I've heard that she was given on a... Was she over-medicated? Absolutely. Was that intentional? I don't know. Either that, you gotta say either the doctor was stupid or it was intentional. So which one? Choose one. Doc, which one you want to be? Or you just weren't paying attention? Are you negligent? Which one? There's not a good choice for you. Unless it was intentional because you've got some kind of vested interest in this new relationship. Was there an affair? I assume there was, because of the quickness. I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing here, but it don't look good. All right? I'm just saying what everybody's thinking. We're all thinking it. And this is why all of the mamas out here are, we're on Lindsay's side. All right. Yes. Hi, Watha. In my opinion, Mr. Clancy looks more guilty. Yeah, he does to me too. Yeah, let me tell you real quick before I end this, and I think I said this on another live stream. I always thought, I don't know that Carol's still in here, but I always thought, because it was close to the time that I got monetized on this channel, like years ago. I always thought that it was Carol's. I wasn't sure if it was the MK Ultra or the Freemasons, but whatever I was really yapping about, I figured I made somebody really mad because I started being shadow banned at that time. And it really never, like, the growth of this channel was so steady. It was like, and then I really got where I just kind of got stuck, okay? Sometimes I have a little bit of a breakout, but really it just never... I had a trajectory going, and it just was crazy the way things just kind of came to a halt. And I just thought it was because of the stuff I was talking about, which it was, but I thought those were the things. And so I was, I thought, well, I could stop talking about them. And then I thought, nah, I'm not going to do it. So I didn't. But then I've watched a lot of other creators talk about these things, and I'm like, well, I don't understand why they have all these they have really big audiences, and they don't seem to be having this problem. Although some of them have talked about it. But here's the thing. My AI, probably about a month ago, I was trying to redo some thumbnails on some stuff, and I was talking about in some descriptions, and I was saying, hey, I need for you to design me a better thumbnail on my channel. I want some better thumbnails and blah, 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 descriptions, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to go back through my old videos and do this. And they're like, oh, sure, okay, I'd be glad to help, blah, blah, blah. And so I went back years. And I said, let's go way on back. Let's go back to 2023. And let's start with Boys on the Tracks. And let's start with that one. Let's redo these thumbnails. Let's redo the description. And make it better. And my AI literally said, I cannot do that. What? Well, you've done it for a bunch of other... No, I can't talk about that. No. It just literally said no. And I'm like, oh, well, crap. So then I went back. So I said, let me go back. So I went to Carol's video. I didn't change it, I don't think. Or did I? I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, I went back to Carol's first video. And I'm like, okay. I interviewed a guest about MK Ultra, and this is what we were talking about, blah, 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 blah. I want you to do this with this video. Okay, great. Sure, no problem. Interesting. You don't have a problem doing that, but you won't talk about Boys on the Tracks. Because why? Because that went all the way to certain politicians who are still in power even today, all these decades later. All the way to the White House. Interesting. Very interesting. So, all this time that I thought that I was getting in trouble, and I have mentioned the other case, numerous times, probably why I've never done another full video on it, but I sure have talked about it a lot and how much it mirrors Delphi, because I think it does in a lot of ways. As far as, just a lot of ways. And, yeah. I had no idea it was like one of these things, like, you don't talk about that. But apparently you don't talk about that. So there you go. Let's see. Smoky Mountain. Up until the last few days, I believed her not responsible. Now I'm not so sure. I'd like to know when the doctor and the new wife became involved. Yeah, me too. Of course they say it was after. But, you're married in 3 months, 3 to 4 months. Come on. Yeah, Samantha says he married wife within 3 months, and a baby don't pop out in 3 months. Just saying. So when did the baby pop out? How many months after that did the baby pop? Yes, did I get swatted? Yes, I did. Twice. Fun times. Fun times. Which is why I keep a low profile around Delphi. I promised my kids, y'all. I would behave myself. So I have. For the most part. But yeah, I don't know. I knew they had a baby, but I don't know when the baby came out. How many months. All right. Let me know in the comments what you think. Lindsay Clancy. Innocent, guilty. What do you think? Do you want to hear about Idaho? I'm interested in Idaho now. There's so many cases out here, but I feel like the investigative cases are the best. And I I never expected to get all caught up in Lindsay. And if my coworker hadn't said, oh, this nurse did this in this manner, and I would have said, my automatic response, like, I wasn't even thinking, I didn't know nothing about the case. Nothing. I just said, no, she didn't. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. Not that way. No, she didn't. We don't do it that way. We know. I looked at her. I said, we know. I said, come on. I said, we know a million ways to do this. That ain't one. We ain't going to do it that way. You know. I know. We all know. We don't do it, but we know. So. All right. Yeah, I know. I'm glad that you're out and you're able to speak free and clear. Yes. Good for you, Samantha. All right. I hope you all have a great weekend. I am going to be going live more, so I'm going to have to change my work hours. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but YouTube has changed its rules, so if I want to stay doing stuff, I'm going to have to do it more on both channels. So I got to figure this out, whether it's videos or live streams, whatever. Please share, whatever. Join in. Give me a like, a thumbs up, hype, whatever, to try to get this going, because now YouTube demands 8,000 watch hours in a year, which was never a problem before. When I was going live before, I had tons of watch hours, but I haven't been doing this lately, so I have to do this. And Lizzie Borden also comes out. The Netflix thing comes out next month, I think, in September. So we're going to be talking about that, because you're going to see Angry Silky next month when I'm all in an uproar about what they've done to the Lizzie Borden case on Netflix, on the Monsters episode. It's got a lot to talk about. And then if you like spooky and paranormal, I met some great people, a lot of great people, when I went to the Wild Man Con last weekend. I'm going to try to get them on and talk about some stuff. I met some people that could actually be on either channel. Got some paranormal stuff. If you like the paranormal, I'm going to be putting out more videos there. And then I'm going to do some interviews, I hope, with some of these people, because it's really quite fascinating. So, Silky Southern Tea and Spooky Southern Tea. Going to have a lot coming up. All right. Hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. I'm probably going to be on again this weekend definitely with Spooky. You never know. Maybe something else. But I'm going to definitely be around. So, whatever you do, watch out. Oh, my God, watch out for these people. And remember to always stay silky. Bye-bye.